Hypothalamus is the primary control center of the body. The pituitary gland is connected to the base of the hypothalamus. There are two hormones that are very significant when it comes down to breastfeeding, and that is prolactin and oxytocin. And both of these hormones are connected to the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland sits in the middle of the head in a bony box called the cell turcitor. The pituitary gland sometimes is also called the master gland. It plays a very critical role in regulating growth, development, metabolism, reproduction, and it also, as I said before, plays the role in the hormones called prolactin and oxytocin. What is prolactin? Prolactin is the milk-making hormone. Prolactin is the hormone that actually makes milk when it's in terms of breastfeeding. The best way to stimulate the hormone prolactin is to stimulate the nipple. The best way to stimulate the nipple is to actually get the baby to latch on to the nipple. Once the baby is latched on, the stimulation from the baby's mouth and saliva, the suction of the baby and the baby's saliva, will send a message from the mom breast to her brain, and that will tell her brain to create the milk, which is the prolactin hormone. So it will encourage the prolactin hormone to begin to make the milk. And once that hormone is stimulated, it makes the milk, and then that milk is moved down to the breast, and the baby is able to be fed. Another way to actually stimulate a mom breast is actually hand expression and using a pump. But as I said, to actually get the baby to latch on, and to get the baby to latch on correctly, would be the best way to stimulate the mom's nipple to get the prolactin to release the milk, to make the milk. The other hormone that is needed in breastfeeding is called oxytocin. Oxytocin is actually the milk releasing hormone. So oxytocin is the hormone that actually gets the milk to release into the mom's breast, so the baby can breastfeed. So oxytocin, as I said, is a hormone produced by the hypothalamus and is secreted by the pituitary gland. Oxytocin promotes lactation by moving the milk into the breast. So once again, when the baby is sucking at the breast, there are two hormones being released. One of the hormones is called prolactin, which is also known as the milk-making hormone, and the other hormone that is being released is oxytocin, which is considered the milk-releasing hormone. Both these hormones are needed in order to have a successful breastfeeding outcome. So let's do a little recap. So we talked about the pituitary gland, and we talked about how oxytocin and prolactin is connected to the pituitary gland. We also expressed how we need the baby to stimulate the breast in order to get both of these hormones to be released. So once you attach the baby to the nipple, the baby begins to suck. But it's not only the baby's suction that helps release oxytocin. The baby's hands are very vital with also releasing oxytocin. So if you notice sometimes when the baby is breastfeeding, the baby is actually massaging the breast. And the helping of the massaging of the breast and the suction of the baby, the warmth of the baby's skin to skin, and the smell of the baby are all things that help release oxytocin, are all things that send signals to the brain and encourage the brain to release the hormone oxytocin, which will actually release the milk. Okay? Also, with the suction of the breast, it encourages the brain to release prolactin. And prolactin is what actually encourages the body to make the milk. So the more the baby sucks, the more milk the mom will produce. The less the baby sucks, or the less stimulations to the nipple will be less milk that the mom produces. So, hand expression is good with stimulating the breast. Pumping is good with stimulating the breast. Sometimes, if you are around another baby and you're breastfeeding, the sound of a baby will actually send signals to your brain, and you may experience a letdown, which basically means that your milk is coming in just from the sound, the hearing. So there are other senses that actually stimulates the hormones to activate also, which is sometimes the smell. So if you have an article of your baby's clothing and you smell those articles, that smell of your baby can stimulate a letdown. The sound of another baby can stimulate a letdown. And sometimes holding another baby can stimulate the letdown. So those are different things that also can stimulate those hormones to activate. But to really get them to do what they need to do, we need the baby to attach to the breast as often as possible, and we need to send those signals to our brain to let our brain know that, hey, we're still in the milk making business, and that would encourage the baby, our bodies to produce milk, which would be encouraging to produce prolactin, and it would encourage our baby to produce oxytocin, which would encourage our body to release the milk that our baby needs. So these are just scientific things that we need, and how our body works. Our body sends signals from our breast to our brain, to our brain to our breast, to produce milk and to release milk. And these are things that are done so that we can have a successful breastfeeding experience and able to nourish our babies.